Welcome into the Third and Wrong YouTube channel. It is past week 5 at this point. We have Monday Night Football underway, but we have wrapped up most of the other games. We got a lot to talk about today, but we got Mikey, we got Gage today. How are you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
You're so energetic about it.
I'm not energetic anymore about football.
And no one else shed a tear for the Patriots.
Nope.
Believe it or not, I didn't lose a year off of my life watching football this last week. It was nice.
There you go. I like that. Gage with the Browns with the bye week, Patriots with a back-to-back ass whooping, and the Colts went 3-1, they're 3-1 in the AFC conference as of right now. So looking pretty good for a playoff spot. But I'm happy. Just Anthony Richardson being out for about a month makes me not happy.
I think we took Cam Newton for granted because we were just like, oh, Anthony Richardson is going to be the next Cam Newton, and Anthony Richardson hasn't even been able to finish a game yet in the NFL.
Yeah.
And Cam was able to do that for like 8 years.
That's
true. It's kind of impressive.
Well, before we get into everything, because we're going to be talking about the Browns, we're going to be talking about the Colts and the Patriots pretty in depth for the short amount of time that we have. Before we do all of that, please help us out. We're a small YouTube channel, so if you can give us a like, comment, and subscribe, you can hear our voices more often, and unfortunately see our faces more often.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But Gage, we haven't really talked about the Browns too much this year. They were just on a bye, so we'll kind of start with the Browns, and then we can get into the Week 5 teams. But what are your impressions on the Browns without Nick Chubb and what they can do this year?
Do you want in depth or do you want like quick fire hitters?
Just give us enough meat to chew on, but not to choke on.
Right there, that's my man right there, Nick Chubb. Thank you, Father, for that Christmas present.
You guys narrowly avoided a disastrous, injury with Nick Chubb. It looks better than what it could have been. But
yeah, they said that, and then it comes out that he needs like 2 different surgeries, and he actually does need one on his ACL.
Ooh.
So,
okay,
I don't know. So yeah, that sucks. I love Nick Chubb. Obviously, if you can't tell, I've got his signed jersey back there. I've also got signed Josh Gordon. Yeah. So there is some love for being hated by your football team still. It's okay. I've been kind of open about my feelings with Kevin Stefanski, at least amongst us, for a while.
Yeah.
I've said for a while that we're not going to win anything with him as the head coach. He is not a head coach, and I think you're starting to see that. You talked all offseason about how we're going to do these new things with Deshaun Watson, how this offense is going to look so much different with Deshaun Watson, and it's the exact same thing that Baker was fucking running. The exact same offense. Like, cool, you added Elijah Moore who does jet sweeps and runs backward for 20 yards. Like, it's just not good. The defense is amazing. The defense is finally playing the way that, like, we're always like, man, all these weapons, all these names, they look so good. And then you had Joe Woods and it just looked terrible. You get somebody back there that's not like a mastermind or anything. He's running basic defense there. He's just letting them fly around and play football. And it's really nice when you don't have the ball run down your throat for 8 yards every single time the team wants it. That defense is elite. They're scary to play against. Like, they are just mean. But that offense is the exact same issues as always. There's no pre-snap motion. Stefanski has been running his same thing that he's been running the entire time, and it was figured out 2.5 years ago. If he's not fired at the end of the year, they will be firing him from being the OC and having somebody else be a play caller, because I know they do like Stefanski, but I mean, he's got to pick and choose. Like, he doesn't coach the defense at all. He finally got somebody that can do that, and the defense is playing good, and the rest of the team look dead. Like, he just needs to remove himself, take control of the whole team, and let somebody else control the offense, because there is no creativity. I like to say, like, I'm optimistic. I still think that they can be good. I just don't think that they're going to be Super Bowl winners. Like, there's a cap, and you can tell what cap it is. You have, like, other offenses that make things happen, and it's got to be perfect the entire time, or it's just like nothing happens. And it shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't need to have the best offensive line, the best running back, the best wide receivers, the best quarterback, and perfect like scheme the entire time for your offense to work. That's called being bad at your job. Offensive
Yeah.
coordinators make bad situations work all the time, and he can't do it. And it's been like this for years now. But as Browns fans, no one wants to hear that because we've been firing coaches forever. So they're like, no, he's finally good. Like, keep him, keep him, keep him. And they're like, they don't want to hear anything negative. I mean, that's the truth. Kevin Stefanski has been subpar. You can blame it on every situation. At some point in time, he's got to elevate somebody. I talked about it with Zach Taylor, with you guys at least. I don't know if we talked about it on the channel, but like Joe Burrow has elevated Zach Taylor for the entire time he's been in the league. I mean, Zach Taylor was one half a year away from getting fired, and then he got lucky with Joe Burrow. And they've had a good team since.
Okay.
It's frustrating.
Now that we've understood the frustration of the Browns, go on.
Also, Jed Wills sucks major ball sack.
Yeah, that's fair. I was going to ask you though. Now that we understand the woes of being a Browns fan, the AFC North had some interesting games this week. The Bengals actually used Jamar Chase this year, which is kind of interesting for them to
He's wide open.
do that.
He's always open. I'm always open.
And then you have the Steelers winning with apparently Matt Canada upset that they were able to win. So
because Kenny Pickett checked out of his play.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But what were your thoughts, real quick, on those two games?
People are like, "Man, the Ravens are dead. I don't know how the Steelers could win playoff games, or the Bengals are going." Like anything you see with AFC North football games, take what you see with those games and throw them out the effing window because they do not matter. You could put Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers on the Browns and the Steelers, and the game will look the exact same way as it did this last time. They're always crapshoots, ugly, not fun to watch games.
Yeah,
unless you just like anarchy.
Legit.
That's every
punches
game.
being thrown too by T.J. Watt.
That's not the first time. I pissed a lot of people off online with that. A lot of fragile Steelers fans. Yeah. You had what was it? Cam Hayward last year punching Justin Herbert in the dick after he tackled him. You got them diving at kneecaps. You've had people diving at heads. You had Antonio Brown trying to kick people in the face. Believe it or not, the Steelers are just a dirty franchise. They always have been. It's okay. You can accept it.
Calling the kettle black right there too. Just
because Miles swung a helmet.
No, just that's what the AFC North is. That's the identity.
That's fair. See, that's fair. The Steelers have just been the best at it.
Yeah.
So
the Colts were able to play this week, unlike the Browns, so kind of had a fun weekend. There was a lot of Twitter beef apparently with the Titans and the Colts on Twitter, or I guess X now. There was a lot of shit talk thrown, and only half of it got backed up. But the Colts played probably their best game, just like throughout the game. Unfortunately, Anthony Richardson went down, but they actually were able to sustain drives. They were able to run the ball. They were able to pass the ball. They were able to get chunk plays. They were able to get a turnover eventually. They stopped Eric Henry. They stopped the Titans, which is one of the hardest teams to stop on a 4th and short. Stopped them too. So the Colts, I mean, they're not the prettiest team to watch. They're no Dolphins or Bills or Chiefs or even the Niners. So I don't expect them to be in the Super Bowl, but they are playing a lot better than what I think a lot of people expected out of them. So I'm excited about it. Sucks that Anthony Richardson's going to be gone, but Minshew, I think, is arguably one of the better backups in the NFL right now. It's hard to find too many people that I would put ahead of him, but still, he does lack mobility, and so we're going to have to change the offense, to kind of fit him again. But were you guys able to watch that game? What were your thoughts on the Colts?
I did not watch it.
They played good. I feel like the Titans are. I mean, they were in the AFC North at some point, and they still have that kind of football.
Well,
Whenever
with
you play
Vrabel,
with the
yeah.
Titans,
With Vrabel, yes.
Yeah, they it's just kind of like those kinds of games are just ugly. Grind it out, do what you can to win the game, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew doesn't show any like Russ. He just comes in and he plays better. the passing game is better when he's on the field, but that's just kind of to be expected because Anthony Richardson's not going to sit there and dice you up. He's going to hit you with the big bombs or the play action because he's got such a threat. And then he just hasn't had time to sit and run the NFL offense. I mean, he's played like what 2.5 games total at this point if you combine all of them. So he's still got a lot of time to work into that rhythm and routine.
The other thing too is we got back Ryan Kelly this week, but Bernhard Raimann, who's our left tackle, he has been out for the last 2 weeks. And
is he Minnesota?
He was, yeah. He came from Minnesota. The college Minnesota, not the Vikings. So, we're going to get more healthy, relatively. We also played without Shaq Leonard. So, we get some, good players back. We get to play the Jaguars this week, which I'm kind of excited for because we'll get a little bit of a revenge there.
I was going to say, you guys just played them.
Yeah.
That's quick.
It is quick. But the one thing I wanted to say that I think was really frustrating is we let another wide receiver go for 100 yards because I think we let Calvin go. I think we went with I think maybe Tank Dell and Nico Collins maybe.
Yeah, they both did.
And then we had who was our third game? Well, yeah, obviously DeAndre Hopkins this one, and then Puka Nacua also. And so we have been giving up a lot of passing yards. I mean, we've still been close in games, but I think that's the biggest thing is getting our corners to get the ball away. Stop letting them just dice us up in that middle, like below deep, but like just in that middle zone range. Our linebackers have just not been closing those lanes. So, or also safeties and corners. But I think that's the biggest weakness for the Colts. But I think they got a lot of hope this year for the Colts. I think there's a lot of hope, especially with Steichen instead of Reich over there, and I'm happy for it. Mikey.
Hold on, I want to correct you. Bernhard Raimann did not play in Minnesota. He played at Central Michigan.
Oh, I mean they look very similar. So yeah,
they are.
Thank you.
Who played in Minnesota?
Falalele.
Thank you.
Thank you for that correction.
You said that, and I was like, I don't think that's right.
It seemed right enough.
It did seem right. I was like, hold on a second. I don't know if that's right.
Try to rember the pictures we used when
Mikey's
we were doing
stalling
stuff last year.
I was stalling because yeah, I really want to talk about an ass whooping. There you go. Boom, game over. Mac Jones sucks. Wow, what a analysis by me.
Oh boy. Okay, so are you hoping that it gets turned around, or are you hoping for maybe a little bit of Jared Verse in the draft, Joe Alt in the draft? There's a few good tight ends out there.
Maybe Kirk Cousins, you guys can trade away a second for this year and bring him in. Him and Bill Belichick would combine really well.
Yeah.
But for real, I didn't get to watch the game. Obviously, missing Christian Gonzalez sucks. What else is kind of getting in the way of the Patriots?
That wasn't a game.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if it's Mac or if I don't know if it's just Bill O'Brien not figuring it out yet, or it's offense related for sure. It's one of those two. It's Bill O'Brien or it's Mac Jones, and I think it's starting to become Mac Jones because he's just an asshole, and he acts like a little prissy B word out on the field.
Good job, Mikey. Way to be a dad.
Yeah.
Oh my big words for Mikey.
Dude, I honestly, I think it's him. I think he's the issue. And if he doesn't sort it out, I would look to move on from him. And I pray to God that it is not Kirk Cousins, because I will not root for a team that
I think that would be the funniest thing ever. If it was Kirk Cousins, I would laugh so much.
No. I pray to God, no. I'm either tanking for Williams or at least draft somebody in this stacked class that's coming up and move on from Mac. He can't do it.
The thing is you guys need a lot of things. Like, you guys need tackles. You guys need wide receivers that can get open. I feel like that's a fair statement. Your defense is solid. Like, I don't think anyone's really complaining.
The defense is okay. It's mainly scheme, and we just have players that fit scheme, so we don't have like the top notch guys. But I mean, our defense is okay.
I watched that pretty much that whole game because I have a few Saints players on fantasy and a couple Patriots players. One side was fun to watch, the other wasn't.
No kidding.
But I've been following with the Patriots. You know, Mikey's my best friend, known him for years, so I've paid attention to it. It's Bill Belichick to the GM,
Yeah.
maybe not the coach, but
yeah, GM
He
Belichick is
has relied on having a Hall of Fame quarterback his entire, like major run, which isn't like, oh my gosh, you can't coach without him. But when you focus on the defense and you're holding issues to the defense, and then you've got your sidekick that you trust with Mike McDaniels or Josh McDaniels and Tom Brady, he's doing the same things as he was doing before, except he doesn't have that quarterback anymore. They didn't pay their elite talent on offense. They let them move on and then filled them in with another guy. And they've been doing that. And now you're like, wait a minute, none of this is working because no one's elevating the team. And it's a lot to ask for Mac to elevate that team. That wide receiving core is the worst, if not bottom three worst receiving cores in football. I mean, he's got what? How much money has he put in the tight end position? It's like a ridiculous amount. They've got like three of them.
Now that Jonnu Smith is gone, not as much, but it's
Mike
still
Gesicki, Hunter Henry, and then who's the other one?
Mike Gesicki.
I know they did get rid of Jonnu Smith, which was a
Mike
huge...
Gesicki.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mike Gesicki,
we
Hunter
said
Henry,
him.
and then
I don't
There's
know who our
someone
third
else.
one is. I don't know. I can't remember his name.
maybe it's not that much then.
We've been moving on from so many tight ends.
But it just seems like you're trying to run
It's not
Patriots of old,
Ozzy.
and at some point in time, you kind of need to kind of like let
Tight
it go.
ends. Tight ends for the Patriots are Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki, Pharaoh Brown, and Matt
Pharaoh Brown.
Sokol.
That's who it is.
Pharaoh Brown's less than $1 million. It's
No, but they've been using him.
yeah, but
Like they've been
it's
using
5
him
mil,
at creating play calls for him.
$5 mil for
He's one of their
Gesicki,
weapons.
15.5 mil for Hunter Henry. He did not get a single touch yesterday.
That's not really his
Yeah.
fault.
Zappy missed him on a wide open freaking route
Yeah.
too. Hunter Henry, that is.
But the big thing, like, they've always had an offensive line, and they don't right now. They've let too many guys go
Yeah, I know.
over the last like 3, even 2 years.
Yeah.
They've let like their left tackle go, their center go.
No, Orlando.
No, the right
Or
guard.
Trent Brown. Geez, he's been there for a while now.
But really, it's
Yeah, we
It's-
let
it's
Shaq Mason
whole
go,
nothing.
Joe Tooney go.
there. It is.
I think we let another one. Those are the first that come to my mind because they're most recent in my memory. But
Well, kind of back to where it's kind of the fault of Bill Belichick and the GM thing. It kind of reminds me of what's going on also in Alabama, where Alabama is just not adjusting to where college football is nowadays, and like Bill Belichick isn't adjusting to where the NFL is nowadays.
Yeah.
And I think Bill Belichick thinks, like you were talking about, where we can trade back in the draft, we can select these guys out of lesser named schools and turn them into these gems, but they don't have the coaching anymore to do it. They've all been poached away or spent, a lot of time away. And I think I feel like getting 3 years away from a Super Bowl. I think that's about all the leash that Bill Belichick has. And now it's getting to a point where it's like, is this the last season for Bill Belichick?
potentially.
Yeah, and people really underestimate it. But like coaching is so big in the NFL. That's what makes it like so entertaining and special, is because you put Patrick Mahomes on that Panthers team, or you put Patrick Mahomes on that Patriots team, not with Andy Reid, but the coaches that they have right now. I mean, they're going to play a little bit better, but it's not going to be much prettier.
But like when you had Tom Brady in there, Tom Brady was the buy-in. Like he was the shiny object of like, this is why we're gonna
cheap.
Well, yeah, play for cheap, but like you're
Yeah.
gonna show up on time every single meeting. You're gonna play the Patriot way. You're gonna do this and that. Like the Patriots have always been a little bit more demanding out of their players, and when you don't have that, and you have Mac Jones back there, like players, I feel like are just like, why? Like I don't know.
Screw this guy.
Yeah. So I think it's got to be a culture change. Not to say that Patriots are doing anything like bad as far as like something closer to like the Raiders or something like that. Like I'm not saying they need to just kick Belichick out, but they got to learn to accept where football is now and change their game a little bit because what they're doing now is just it's getting in the way of everything else too.
And it happens quickly. Like Kevin Stefanski 4 or 5 years ago brought this new thing in for the Browns, and it got figured out within a couple years, and he hasn't changed a thing. It's the exact same that he came when he got in there. I could only imagine if you took away like the elite talent that the Browns have that aren't being used to their potential, and then you put that same thing in there where you're going to run the same thing every week that you've been doing for 20 years, basically.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't work, you bring back another guy that used to be there that ran that same thing. Like there hasn't been creativity. And then in fairness, you can't really get creative with the team that Bill Belichick put around him.
So
That's
okay.
what I wanted to add is that I don't think we can maybe see the last year's Belichick as a coach, but probably
As
GM Bill.
Yeah.
GM Bill might be done, and I hope he is. I'm sorry to say that for Pats fans out there that like him as a GM, but I'm kind of getting sick and tired of it.
So the other thing I was going to ask is because we kind of hinted at it earlier, but with the Patriots, I think you were saying they were third right now for the draft order. If they end up there at 3, so season ends now, what do the Patriots do? What do you hope they do? And
Trade out of the first round. That's what they're gonna do because Belichick's an asshole.
hey, they can trade that first for Kyler Murray.
God, please don't.
No, I do think if you guys did get Caleb Williams, you would have that buyback again, where it's like, oh, this is why we're gonna play for the Patriots. So
Yeah,
that could help you out.
that's what I'm hoping. I mean, I'd love to get Caleb Williams. Maybe I would. Bill needs to do something legendary. Do something that these other teams that have been doing recently that are starting to get better. Like the Lions are buying in like a bunch of first round picks, but they've also got some, but they're now giving some. The same thing with the Texans. They got some, but now they're giving some, and they're making better moves and trading up and getting actually good players. Like, don't look at these schools that played 4 snaps of Division V football for Northeast West Seattle Community College of Eastern Illinois. That dude looks very coachable. We'll take him at number 3.
It's a lot different
out
now.
of here, dude.
Social media is so big, you don't have people that are like gems really anymore. Like if you're good, you'll pop up and people will see that. And you're seeing that with the transfer portal. Those guys that are good that are at those schools that you could get before, they're getting those transfers to the bigger colleges that they wanted to be in. And in the NFL, like you still get them every year. Like that's still one of the crucial things, hitting on those 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks to help your team. But
yeah, you can still
like,
find
you
those
have
bigger
to
schools.
hit those first round picks, or you're going to be behind. Like you have to hit on your first round picks easier. Like when you miss multiple times in a row, and it's been like half a decade at this point of just failed first round pick after failed first round pick, you're putting yourself at a big disadvantage because that's premium talent that you have to get put on your roster that shouldn't be risks. They should be like home run hitters, and if not even like Hall of Fame players, you're just talking about like legitimate starters. That's what you should want every first round pick to be.
Yeah, Bill.
Well,
but Dylan, you were saying the draft class right now, right?
Yeah, this draft class, I'll kind of give an asterisk. This class and the next class are going to really change the NFL. I think more than what we've seen in the last couple ones because the list of quarterbacks out there right now, the list of wide receivers out there right now are, I think, just crazy. Plus, you have legitimate offensive linemen coming out as well. You have really great edge rushers as well, just like any other draft. But the quarterbacks coming out, you got obviously you got Caleb Williams. Drake May has been super hyped. He's playing really well. But you got a lot of other players. Shadur Sanders in the next year or two is going to be coming out. He's decent. You got Bo Nix. You got Michael Penix. You got Cam Ward. Jaden Daniels is looking like a decent quarterback for LSU as far as mobility goes.
Spencer Rattler's always had talent.
Spencer Rattler.
We'll see how
Travis, or it's not Travis Hunter, it's Hunter Travis or something like that. The guy the quarterback out of Florida State.
I know.
It's Travis something. And then, Jordan Travis, yeah. Then you have people like Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss, who's starting to heat up. You still have Quinn Ewers out there. JJ McCarthy, I think he's going to be interesting for a lot of teams as well. There's just a lot more high ceiling types of quarterbacks, because usually you get like a random Mahomes or a random Anthony Richardson that can throw the ball a million miles, but it feels like all these guys, Penix, Williams, May, Ewers, like all these guys can chuck the ball 70 yards down the field. They can.
Joe Milton, did you say him?
Well, also him, yeah. Joe Milton also had a huge arm.
He's one of the best dudes that could do it.
Yeah. So like, whether they come out this year or next year, like this draft, like these quarterbacks coming out are unreal, and it's going to shake up a lot of teams, because there's going to be quarterbacks that are good that are going to be moved away from, because they're not Caleb Williams, they're not Drake May, they're not so and so. So, but that kind of brings
Patriots need to draft one.
That kind of brings us to one thing that I was going to ask you guys about, because these high ceiling guys are fun to look at and be like, ooh, what if, but the guy that's taking over the NFL is Brock Purdy. And I brought up this tweet here. I don't know if I'm showing it to you guys. But basically what it says is Brock Purdy, for his first part of the season, his passer rating is number 1. His win percentage is number 1. Pass touchdown to interception ratio, number 1. And his interception percentage is also number 1. And so... System. Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
There's got to be a mix there, though, right? Like,
I think it's a very good mix.
Yeah. I think Brock Purdy is an example of a team limiting him during college, that he eventually came to, find the right system and then just learn everything he can, make all the throws that he can, and just be valuable to a team that way. And it's crazy, but Brock Purdy has not lost a game that he's finished as the quarterback, or as far as started and finished. Maybe he came in for one, but Brock Purdy doesn't lose, and we haven't seen this since Tom Brady. Yeah.
I was going to say, that's what I was going to bring up. Like, Tom Brady is not the best quarterback to ever play football. He's the greatest. He won games. He figured out ways to win games. He didn't have the best arm. He wasn't the quickest. He wasn't the biggest. He didn't have the prettiest throw. He just did what he had to do to win, and that's what Brock Purdy's doing right now.
Yeah.
I should say I think it's kind of disrespectful to compare him to Tom Brady. Like, you can't really compare people to like that, but
this to me is just like a making of a franchise quarterback. And I think they will win the Super Bowl this year. I think that's a very legitimate thing right now. They have the best defense, or at least one of the top 5 defenses. And they have one of the most consistently high scoring offenses that we've seen. They just took apart the Cowboys, where they apparently had the best defense until this week. So,
well, they've also got a coach that's creative and is finding ways to get those best players the ball.
Yeah.
Week in, week out.
This kind of ties in a little bit with the Patriots, but your favorite guys ever, what's his face from the Jets? He's talking about,
Zach Wilson?
No, the coach that has gray hair, likes feet, and now he's just talking. Rex Ryan, yeah.
Yeah.
He's saying if Mac Jones was in San Francisco, he would be playing like Brock Purdy. And it's just not true. People just they just think
Not
that because
necessarily.
Brock Purdy can't do the Mahomes and do the
He did that stuff in college. Has anyone even watched any of his college tape? He literally would make crazy acrobatic throws too.
Brock Purdy?
Patrick Mahomes isn't the first person to ever do this.
for real.
God, I need to hop off that dude's wiener, bro. I swear.
I mean, he is pretty dang good. Let's be real.
I know he is, but Brock Purdy could do. He did the exact same thing at Iowa State. He literally was completely parallel with the ground and still chucked it and hit the receiver. Oh wow!
We
That's
just
the
talked
first
about
one.
it with Mac Jones and the Patriots, and then the Panthers with C.J. Stroud. It's situation. Like, is Brock Purdy the most elite quarterback? No, but he is
No,
put in a good
he is.
situation. He's
Yes,
got
but he's
people
also
around him.
good.
He's being coached well around him. And believe it or not, he understands who he is. He's living within his means. He knows what he needs to do to win. And he's not going out of his way to try to, like, oh,
Well,
look, I'm better than you. He's doing what he needs to do. And
Yeah.
he balls out.
if you watched the
Like,
game last night and during the third quarter, for like 8 minutes of the third quarter, just game time, which we know takes like an hour and a half to get through, they just talked about Brad Purdy just stays in his lane. He knows he's not the biggest guy. He knows he's not the strongest guy. Yeah, you said that 5 times already. God.
Well,
But yes,
I think
that is what he
people
does.
are just like they see the Shanahan system, and it's good. Shanahan's a great offensive coordinator, like great. I think everyone recognizes that. But Brock Purdy, one, he has the ability to make the throws that Shanahan wants him to make, but he also has the ability to lead a locker room. He has the ability to get people to play for him and be excited to have him as his quarterback, and be
and
able to say, this is the guy over the first round draft pick that we traded 3 picks for. This is the guy over Jimmy Garoppolo who has brought us to a Super Bowl already. They chose Brock Purdy as a team. And I think that's, to me, the greatest thing as a quarterback that you could ask for.
and 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 this is just another thing with how flawed our quarterback scouting thing is. Brock Purdy has something that you cannot see on tape, or like you can see it on tape because he does it every week, but you can't like put it into a setting. You can't put it into like a stat. He can read defenses. He understands the football game. And you can take all these tests. You can say, like, this guy played really good in college. He's got all the arm talent in the world. He's got all this. But if you can't function and read a defense or play within game speed, like, there's people that are practice heroes that are just incredible. And the second you put them into a game, have no idea what's going on. And then you've got people that just look like garbage in practice, but as soon as you put them in a game, they're just smarter and better than everyone else. And that's in every single sport, and that's something he's got. That's
Yeah.
not something you can take away or like say like, oh, if you put anyone in there, he could do it. Well, maybe not, because maybe he understands that offense just as good as Kyle Shanahan does. Maybe that's why he's so good.
Well, watch we post this video and like the rest of the year, the Niners just lose and Brock Purdy is just complete
Works.
trash. But no, I wanted to also bring up a few other
I
things.
shaved my head bald.
I got the Detroit Lions up here. Kind of just a simple tweet saying that the Lions won again, but the Detroit Lions are 4-1, just as everyone expected them to. They beat
Legends.
the Chiefs.
That's what everyone wanted.
Yeah, I think their only loss was to the Seahawks, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken. In
Yeah.
And that
overtime.
was an overtime game.
Yeah,
That should have been called back because
yeah.
Hutchinson was getting yanked.
I mean,
Boy, was he.
if there was a sophomore of the year, that would be Aiden Hutchinson. I think he not going to the Jaguars is the greatest thing for me, but the worst thing for the Jaguars that I've ever seen, and I love it.
I wonder if there was something in there, like he just wanted to go to Detroit,
There could
And-
be.
and
Yeah.
the Jags were just like, because we saw it when we were doing like our scouting. We were talking about it, like Trayvon's big and athletic, but he's never like
It's a what
done
if.
anything on field. It's a big
Yeah.
what if. Like you knew what Hutchinson was going to be. We all knew it. Everyone said it, and yet he still just wasn't picked.
Well, another one here too that we can kind of talk about as well, unless we have anything else to talk about the Detroit Lions.
Jared Goff playing really well. Give him his flowers. He was crapped on, and the Rams situation was traded away with picks just to get him out of town. And it's not often you see trades that both teams succeed from,
Yeah,
but that's a good situation where it's at. And I think it's been good for his mental health too. You know, getting somewhere where he can just be himself.
yeah.
Like I can be confident and be okay with being confident.
Well,
He
the
doesn't
other,
have to fit that LA style of being like flashy. He can just be
yeah.
Jared Goff.
Well, and the other thing too about the Lions this year is I do want to congratulate them on not forcing the hand on Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, he was injured this week, but he also hasn't been like the workhorse that we knew he wasn't. But I feel like they're just building up what their offense is right now, and that's going to come later on the line. And I think it's really weird that all these people that are just fantasy GMs are just trying to clown the Lions for like not force feeding Jahmyr Gibbs the ball. Like he does make some good plays and stuff like that, but I mean he doesn't have a big workload and he's right now injured. So I'm not saying that he's injury prone, but like why, if everything's working and you're 4-1, why are we going to put Jahmyr Gibbs in a situation that he's probably not prepared for?
I will clown on them for this because you pass on Aaron Donald Jr. to take a running back that's a change of pace back. And it's not like that's not known. They did that all last year. DeAndre Swift's an incredible running back, and they're like, no, he doesn't fit the way that we run the football. We're going to run Jamal Williams, and we'll throw in Swift there every now and then. Using your 8th overall pick for somebody that's like the 7th or 8th most important player on your offense, when you could have taken Jalen Carter and had Jalen Carter and Aiden Hutchinson next to each other.
I mean, if you were looking at on the paper, yes, I do think that there is I think there is warrant to like question whether or not you want to take a guy like that when he's had a rest, he's had some things, just come up. I don't fault teams for doing that. I like if it was just like there's nothing to worry about, then obviously that would be completely insane. But I do feel like if there was stuff like that happening, do you want to bring that into locker room even though he is that, dominant of an interior rusher? That the Eagles were willing to do that, but obviously not a lot of teams are willing to do that.
We do this every year. We overanalyze this stuff like it matters.
Yeah, but
no NFL GM cares about that.
The Titans drafted Isaiah Wynn in the first round, and then you went off the AWOL train and barely ever played for the Titans, and just completely.
But that was more that can happen to anybody.
Exactly.
His was like, could he go to jail because he was racing cars? He was racing cars as a college kid, and it ended badly, really badly. Yes. I'm not saying what he did wasn't good or like wasn't as bad as what it sounds, but like he was doing normal stupid boy things.
And I'm not condemning him. I'm not convicting him of anything. I'm saying there are people that if you draft, even though their talent is great, they just it's just too much. And so I don't fault them as much. I don't think it was a clear cut and dry like this guy's.
If it wasn't a draft class and these guys were all free agents and they did what they did in their college careers, there's no way that you're taking Jahmyr Gibbs over Jalen Carter. It's like it's for some reason we always overanalyze everything that these kids come in college from, and we like pick on that stuff like the NFL GMs care. Like they don't care. They want to know if you play football and if you can play it well.
Right. And I think but to a point though, you can't draft a player that has red flags and then him go off and have more run-ins with the law like a Henry Ruggs or something like that. I don't know if he had any NFL issues, but like I'm just saying, like I do think there is a warrant to like we are investing 4 to 5 years. We're investing multiple millions of dollars in this player. Obviously, the talent, yes, is great, but is this really the best thing that we could do for our locker room? I think their defensive line is fine as is, and for the next 4 to 5 years, they have a really solid running back. I think so. I don't think it's the worst thing ever. But they are 4-1. That's the kind of the biggest thing. That is really good. They're 4-1. They're even without overutilizing their running back. They're 4-1. Things are going good in Detroit for the first time in a long time.
Who's next? Are we picking on? Who are we talking about next?
I was just going to talk about rookies in general. I have this one showing the passer rating versus man coverage. I think this was on October 3rd, so it's a little dated. But it had C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson number 1 in the NFL on man coverage. Obviously, rookies are going to face more and, that kind of thing. So,
yeah.
Kirk Cousins and Josh Allen are number 3 and 4. But Stroud and Richardson, when healthy, are looking like the best quarterbacks right now. There's also a few other rookies that are doing really hot. Puka Nacua, Devon Achane, however he wants to pronounce it.
A-Chain.
I like A-Chain, but I think it's Achane.
A-Chain sounds so much sicker. He should have left it.
And then Sam Laporta, Lions as well. Just looking really solid. Bijan Robinson obviously is super dope. Any other rookies you want to shout out? Any
Sorry.
other rookies? I really like Josh Downs. He almost had 100 yards against the Titans.
Um,
Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers is solid. He hasn't really
Is
broken
solid.
out.
This isn't a good week to
Hey,
bring
it's
him
been
up
okay.
right now. We'll
Yeah,
we'll
no,
let
but
Ravens
you're-
fan move on from that one for a little bit, but he is going to be good,
Yep.
unfortunately.
I do want to say Bryce Young.
He-
I think he's in a bad situation. I think he can play better, but he just hasn't shown much of it.
I will say we all talked about it, and people saying like, oh, like CJ Stroud's in a better situation than Bryce Young.
Nuh-uh. Nope.
Dude, we talked about it. They were the same situation.
Texans
CJ Stroud is
are-
elevating that team,
Yeah.
and they're playing better.
well,
CJ Stroud isn't.
and Ben Slowick or whatever his name is, but no, the Texans had their third offensive tackle. Like they were going 2 and 3 deep on the offensive line for the last like 3 or 4 weeks. So no, Bryce Young. I mean, Bryce Young has a harder situation because of his coaching. But as far as roster wise, no, the Texans were a worse roster this year.
Bryce Young has a harder situation because he's tiny.
Yeah.
Because he has to not only be better, but he has to over he has to get over
Overcompensate.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
For it. And believe it or not, like people we talk about it's not like a big deal. It's not a big deal. I mean, it is a big deal when you're starting out. Like once you get established and you've got a system down and you're good, then yeah, obviously your size doesn't matter if you can ball. But when you're coming out and you're trying to figure all that stuff out, that's a difficult thing to do. And you're going to develop bad habits because he's going to be pressured constantly because he's going to have to move to be able to see. He's going to,
Yeah.
I don't know. And
Well-
and we are just big advocates for CJ Stroud. We all thought he was better.
I was probably the biggest advocator, unfortunately, now that he's with the Texans. But
Yeah.
I was really sold on Stroud. But I was gonna
Mikey
say,
was not gonna let that pass. Mikey was talking shit on Bryce Young, literally.
well, yeah, but like I feel like I was.
Stroud.
Anyway, we were all big on
Dylan
Stroud.
was like, man, I want Stroud.
Yes.
I want Stroud.
and I was able to have him, right?
Yeah.
Like we were potentially in that realm for most of the year. But
Yeah.
no, what I was going to say was also what I wanted to mention the rookie offensive tackles. Browns, you guys have what's his face?
DeJuan Jones.
He's playing-
done really, really, really well.
Done really good. Broderick Jones for the Steelers has been doing really well. I want to say Blake Freeland, even though he's our backup, he played decent. I mean, had a rough going against Aaron Donald, but that was like a, hey, you're not
Shocker.
a starter, but this is your
Yeah.
first shot is against Aaron Donald. Sweet. But I want to say there's a few other offensive tackles that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head that have been playing really solid.
These are-
Jack Campbell.
Harrison
Oh yeah, Antoine Harrison
and Paris Johnson.
yeah, Paris Johnson.
Is that this year?
for the Cardinals. Yeah,
Oh yeah, the Cardinals drafted him.
Yeah.
The one
Yeah.
didn't the Titans take one? Did we already mention it?
yeah. Peter
Yeah.
Skronsky. He's been injured
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit, but he's been
He's been-
solid. The Bears got what's his face out of Tennessee, Wright, Darnell Wright.
Yeah, I don't know if any of them are like Hall of Fame level, but they're all more than
Better
like,
than
they're
Evan
already
Neal.
already serviceable tackles in
Yeah.
the NFL.
Better than Evan Neal, and a few other tackles out
I
there.
don't know, dude. If you just give the other team Giants jerseys, Evan Neal might become elite. He'll be blocking everybody.
Well, I think that's about it for the kind of like the little notes. Other than, I wanted to ask you guys. We have 2 categories here. We got a pretender, playoff pretender, and a
Let's pull it
tank
up.
commander. I guess maybe we can call it them tank commanders. I can go first, or we can go whoever else goes first. But we'll do a playoff pretender who's actually not as good as they were. Maybe we got a few hints from last night, but
Cowboys.
All right, Mikey, you can start. Who's your playoff pretender?
Bills.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Dude,
I need
being
a little
serious.
bit. I need a little bit more on than just the name against probably the third best team in the AFC.
Dude,
How are they
just
pretenders?
lost to the Jags.
In London? That game doesn't matter. Like good job for the Jags, but like
I'm
losing in
sorry.
London,
We're just gonna pass up their other loss was to the terrible Jets.
division
Even
rival,
even the Patriots could beat them.
divisional game, bro.
I'm just saying. Dude,
I
Josh Allen's a bum. They're all figured out now.
The one divisional opponent that actually matters in that division that can actually play him in the playoffs, they manhandle pretty much.
the interesting thing here with that 70-point game that the Dolphins had, the Buffalo Bills have 33 more points in point differential than the Dolphins.
Interesting.
I was also just kidding. I'm sticking with the Cowboys.
Okay, Cowboys. Who is your
Trash on the Bills.
who's your tankathon team right now?
Patriots.
Yeah, I love it. Love it.
Tank it up, dude. Screw it. I don't even care anymore.
All right,
Tank for Williams.
moving on to you,
please.
Gage. Who are your playoff pretenders as of right now? I think I know where you're going.
Wait, who am I going?
I think you're going AFC North, and I think you're going Pittsburgh.
So I want to say him, but they're not even. They're not going to make the playoffs. Like they're not a playoff team.
They're 3-2. They're 3-1 in their conference actually. So they actually, I think, rank third in playoff standings as of right now.
Well, whoever gets to play them in the first round, if they actually make it, congratulations, you got a 30-point win, just like they've been doing the last 3 years when they go in there and they get walked.
Maybe
They're
if
not a
Kenny
playoff
Pickett
team.
can ignore Matt Canada, we can see them actually have an offense.
No. My playoff pretenders, I guess right now, the Colts are in that right now, but like I struggle. Like I think the AFC South, or I mean the NFC South, right? The AFC South and the NFC South. Like you've got the Buccaneers, the Saints, and the Falcons. One of them is going to make the playoffs, but I don't think that they're really playoff caliber teams.
Yep.
They've got the benefit of playing in a division where they're the NFC East of 10 years. When someone had to make the playoffs out of that division, so they got in. But then the AFC South, like I think it's a better situation because you expected a lot worse from that division and you thought it was just going to be a runaway from the Jags. But I don't think if the Colts or the Titans, if they squeeze into the playoffs, they're going to win or compete with anything. That's a good job. We progressed this season and now we can build on that. So I guess that's my pretenders, but really it's hard to say this early.
Yeah,
I feel like week 8 to 10 is kind of when you'll decide figure out who are pretenders.
Who are your tank?
A lot easier to know who are the actual contenders for the Super Bowl already. You kind of know there's an echelon of teams.
Yeah,
and then there's everyone else right now.
Okay.
My tankathon.
Yeah, tankathon team.
Mikey already took the Patriots.
You can say them again.
I'm gonna go with the Vikings.
Ooh.
We talked about it all off season how they overplayed themselves. They had this great record last year, and it wasn't gonna do the same this upcoming season. You can't win so many. They were 11-1 in one score games last year. That is not gonna happen. The NFL is a lot of skill based, but a lot of luck. And right now they're 0-3 in one score games, and that luck has turned. It was going to revert back, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. They could win half their games, but it's not going to happen until the latter half. You lost against the Chiefs. You've got to play. Let's see. They have a rough schedule coming up. So they lost against the Chiefs. Unfortunately, that was the Chiefs, and you get to play the refs as well. But then they play the Bears, who are on a high, and the Vikings aren't. and they're playing for the division, and divisional games are never as simple as you think. Like, you're like, oh, the Vikings are a better team. Well, maybe, but they know how each other play, so we'll see how that one goes. Then you've got the 49ers. Good luck. Honestly, I don't see a team beating the Niners this year. It would be a divisional opponent.
Yeah.
Or they let people win at the end of the year. But yeah, that's my tankathon team.
Bold choice.
And unfortunately, I don't think it really matters because Kirk is playing great, but that team is just
their defense is
bad.
not up to snuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so my playoff pretenders. I don't know if this is bold, but I'm gonna go the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, I like that.
Only because they're 3-1 right now. Their one loss came from the Los Angeles Rams. But I can see them being in the playoffs, but I just don't see them doing a whole lot, else. Just because I do think Gino is somewhat limited as far as where he can take the team. I feel like if they get behind, they're not a team that comes back to win and things like that. My tankathon team, though, if I had to choose one, the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, that was what I was set in between.
I would say also the Carolina Panthers, but they don't have to do anything to tank.
They don't get anything if they tank. They better hope that they just start winning something.
Exactly. So Denver Broncos, I really like that one. The Giants are also, in the same boat. But man, just the Denver Broncos situation is not good. You gotta survive Russell Wilson's contract to a point, but they're gonna start selling people to get under the cap, get younger players in, start getting more draft picks, and Sean Payton can rebuild that Denver team if he is the one.
Do you even want Sean Payton rebuilding it? I mean, she is.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he did say that it was one of the worst coaching jobs to come into. I mean, he was saying that.
Yeah, he's doing really good.
About Nathaniel Hackett, but yeah, I think they're a tank team.
And I think they're interesting because they are trying so hard not to.
Yeah. But their defense, like outside of Surtain, is kind of meh. Their offense, outside of the occasional Marvin Mims, bomb, just kind of meh. So I think they're a good candidate for that. They're gonna get beat up by the Chiefs. They're gonna get beat up by the Chargers. The Raiders, they can kind of battle for their draft picks, but those are my teams.
Well, since we're talking about the tankathon teams, if we pull up the draft order, Chicago holds 1 and 2 right now.
Yeah.
Denver 3, Minnesota 4, New England 5. So we were talking about it. What?
It changed?
Yeah.
Carolina to Chicago for 1. 2 Chicago, Denver, Minnesota, New England. They're all tied, and then
I know, but
Arizona, New York.
It goes off strength of schedule.
Yeah, strength of schedule.
Well, we have the hardest schedule in the NFL.
You have harder than most, but the Cardinals and
Giants,
which
is why you're further back because they have a worse schedule and they've lost more, so they're the worst team.
So it's based off the wins that the teams that they played. Yeah. So as of right now, Chicago gets two top 2 picks, which I just don't think is going to happen.
Time to keep losing.
But
no, I think they'll finish with 1 or 2, and then like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
At the end of the year.
Yeah.
We're gonna have 1.
But that comes to the that brought up our question. We kind of talked about it over text earlier today. But if you're the Bears and you end up with a number 1 overall pick, whether that be because of your own failure or because of the trade you had with Carolina last year, do you pass up on Caleb Williams, who I wasn't like super high on last year? I was like, he's getting a lot of hype, too much Patrick Mahomes stuff. And then watching him like every game this year, I mean, that kid he makes some throws that are like, not just like, oh, wow, that's a really good college play. Like that, dude, that's like incredible
For
like
sure.
arm talent. Like
I think with Chicago, if it's their
Trade
pick
up.
that's the number one, that means you lost the most amount of games, you played the worst. I think you got to
yeah.
get rid of Justin Fields at that point.
But
If
say you finish like 8th and you finish with like a record of like 6-10,
if the
which
Bears can go 8-9 at this point, that means winning the next 7 out of their next 12. I think they keep Fields because it seems like something else is going on that's they're able to fix with Justin Fields. But I think if not, you gotta move that head coach out. You gotta change the system. I think this is Pole's second year, so I think he still has some leeway. Go grab Caleb Williams. Go grab another head coach, and you buy yourself a lot more time. Which I mean you don't really need because you have Caleb Williams. Um, and I think that's what you got to do. But if it looks like Justin Fields isn't the problem, and it's just like everything else, then I think you keep Fields and you go and get Marvin Harrison Jr. or Mbuka or whatever his name is, stuff like that. So I don't know.
well, I said it to like Mikey brought something up. What did you say, Mikey, in there about the Bears and our text?
No, I said trade out, get another haul.
Yeah.
I just have Justin Fields can
Yeah.
keep playing at the same pace that he's playing at now. I mean, like, why would you try to move on from him or move on from him? Because at least he's showing improvement now, and he's actually showing that he can play. Now you just got to keep building the squad around him, and maybe it's coaching at that point too. He has said that it has been on coaches before. We know what he can do. We see him do it at Ohio State. He can make plays just as good as Caleb Williams can. Like you have Caleb Williams basically at quarterback right now.
Yeah. The only thing
Except for the fact that
is that you had basically in that Commanders game, you had DJ Moore just beat up on the cornerbacks that the Commanders have that aren't that great.
and they didn't adjust. They did the same thing.
Yeah.
You're gonna play off ball and then be aggressive every single time, and he just threw hitches.
Well, they're gonna play the Vikings and the Raiders, so they're gonna look a little bit better early or later on in the season. But I think it's all gonna be crashing down when they play the Lions twice in 3 weeks, the Browns, the Cardinals, the Falcons, and the year with the Packers. So they're gonna end on such a downturn.
Yeah. Which potentially we could. I mean, maybe Fields keeps playing like he is, and he's finally starting to figure it out, and him and DJ Moore are now getting the chemistry. And I mean, but like. If I was the Bears, I wouldn't look to move on because you already traded up so much to get Justin Fields in the first place as well. And then you're just another San Francisco 49ers, and now you're just going to trade away Justin Fields, but you're going to expect a freaking arm and a leg from team for him when he just played like shit, and you're willing to move on from him.
Well, they could also keep their pick, take Caleb Williams, trade down, and get that haul too with what they have from the Panthers pick.
So my thought process is, what's his name? Eberflus. He's gone at the end of the year.
Gone.
I don't think he can.
He's already gone.
I don't think he lasts the year, right? And new coaches come in, and they're not going to stake their job on somebody else's player. That's somebody else's draft
I don't know.
pick.
I mean, if they believe in Justin Fields,
listen. I was a Browns fan. That happened all the time.
Yeah,
all
but
the time. We come in. I want a different quarterback. That's not my guy.
Frank Reich came into the Colts because of Andrew Luck.
Dylan froze. Mikey froze.
No,
Maybe I froze.
No, but Frank Reich came to the Colts because of Andrew Luck. We had to get rid of our head coach, and Frank Reich was like, "Yeah, obviously I'm taking Andrew Luck." There might be a coach that says, "Hey, obviously I'm taking Justin Fields." Yeah, Gage is gone.
He's outie.
He's gone. Let's see if he jumps back in here, but if he doesn't, in the next little bit, we'll kind of end this maybe. But I think Eberflus, if he's gone, I don't think that means Justin Fields gone. I don't think if there's reason to keep Justin Fields, you can still move the head coach, bring in someone else. They did that with Rodgers. They did that with plenty of other people. Here's Gage. He is back. I was just saying that there's been coaches that have been replaced and the quarterback stayed before. I mean, if Justin Fields is looking terrible, I understand that. But if he's looking like he is right now, I mean, I think the coach is going to be brought in because of Fields.
Here's what I argue with. If you're going to likely end up with the first overall pick, I don't see the Panthers playing much better. I don't think they're going to be able to pull out enough wins to not be in that situation.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we're doing this hypothesis all on, right? You're going to have the pick of whatever coach you want. Maybe it's Ben Johnson from the Lions. He's going to have his pick. You can move Fields because people believe in Fields. He's a good quarterback. But like Caleb Williams is like already being compared to Patrick Mahomes. He's like that can't miss prospect. Do you let him go in hopes to like build your team around a quarterback that you're hoping can play good? That you're like, okay, he finally had 2 decent weeks. He finally is playing decent. Like, what if he just plays decent like that all year long, but not like at that same level? What if it's up and down like he's been all year?
If the season ended today, I would say you draft Caleb Williams. But we're talking about the hypothetical. What if their first overall pick is from the Panthers and the Bears are looking like Justin Fields isn't looking like he's the problem. It's just we got to get Matt Eberflus out of here. We got to change the head coach, the coaching staff. If Justin Fields isn't the biggest problem and he's looking like he's hitting that potential a little bit, like every other game or something like that, that's kind of what we're talking about more so than just right now.
And I'm here to argue with that. I like Ohio State. That's my second team. Like, I'm a Boise State fan, and then I like
Gross.
Ohio State. What?
I said gross, but go on.
Yeah, I like Fields. I think he's good. I think he'll succeed. If I'm building a team and I have that first overall pick, take Caleb Williams. Trade that other one, but take Caleb Williams. Trade Justin Fields and trade that other first round pick if you want, and build your team that way instead of trading that first overall pick for 3 first round picks and maybe a player. Trade Justin Fields for 2 first round picks or a first and a second and use those for players. I mean, you're still going to get a haul either way because you still have Justin Fields on the roster. You can end up like the Arizona Cardinals when they moved on from Josh Rosen and got Kyler Murray, except now you have a guy that's actually worth a damn and you can get something back as well as taking the guy that's better for your team.
Well, and I think it kind of goes back to Brock Purdy in a way too. If you can build a team around, it almost you almost want to have a quarterback that can run the system more than you want to have the game breaker. So I can kind of see what you're saying. Having just the game breaker kind of covers a lot of flaws. But I also think if you have 2 top 10 picks and you have the chance of getting Marvin Harrison Jr. and say a defensive player that can change the game on the other side, maybe that is more than having Caleb Williams and a corner or something like that.
That's fair.
But if you have
Marvin
any other
Harrison is pretty damn good.
Yeah. If you have any other thoughts, though, guys watching here, please comment. We like to put our thoughts in the comments as well. We always respond. And if you stuck till the end, obviously you need to subscribe. You need to like this video. And any other last words, Mikey, Gage?
Tank for Williams.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, if you haven't already, please like. But we are going to wrap this up. Stay tuned for other videos. We'll be out there. And good luck to your team and your fantasy team. Hopefully everyone all wins.
Let's not talk about it.
All right. Well, peace out. Have a good one.
See you guys.